Hello and welcome to the next round of the Castle Combe Karting Championship. Here we're going out in practice. It's been raining earlier in the day and I'm immediately caught out. Last time it rained I spun coming out the pits, at least I made it a few meters further forward. Now this round I have the number one kart because I got a podium at the last round and a lot of the other people who got a podium haven't turned up at this event. So my aim is always to either match or beat my number, and I'm not going to be able to beat my number this time. I'm going to struggle to match it as well, so I think it's more realistic to aim for like a top 5 result. He's having another little crash in practice and then finally another spin as well, just to round things off. Apologising there, but fortunately that's just practice. I was actually able to work on some new lines and they worked out quite nicely. Here we go out in heat number 1, first race of the day, and here we go. And I do not get a good start. Unfortunately my kart had actually been turned on just before the race and I hadn't done anything to try and warm it up, as I didn't realise it would affect it that much. But there you see the driver in first, pulling out nice, big gap, but able to close back in again as I get a good drive up the hill, and then I'm just kind of in the wrong place. I'm taking the wet line at the top of the circuit, and I'd actually soon learned that you can take some normal lines in about half the corners, as half the corners are perfectly dry, but the other half are still damp, and so you have to be careful with sort of what lines you were taking. Coming through the first corner, get a reasonable drive out, and then just brake a bit too late, run about half a metre wide, and try and carry the speed, and then actually get a really poor drive up the hill, as the driver in third place managed to overtake me. Bit annoying, but then see coming through the hairpin, I actually see the grip on the inside there is actually really good. So I know that for the rest of the day, I'm just going to be able to take the normal racing line up there, and I really struggle in this downhill section. Losing a lot of time, but here you see jumping forward to lap 4, and I've closed back in. I take a slightly different line, and I get a really good drive up the hill. Really looking to challenge for this second place. Want to try and at least minimise my points loss at the start of the day while it is wet. I know I'm not the quickest in the wet. You see you're taking a bit of a wider line and that just does not work at all, unfortunately. It's very slow going on the inside, but it's still the quickest way. Here we go, final lap. Quite far back, but I know that I can at least close a bit. And you see, brake nice and early, and then able to get on the power nice and early. Drive up the hill, close in. Not able to make the overtake here, but I'm carrying a lot more speed. I'm almost getting the cut back, and here we go for a very ambitious overtake, and I quickly realise that's not going to work. I'm fortunately able to avoid any contact, otherwise that would definitely been giving me a penalty. So first race of the day, perhaps not the best start, but I know I'm not as good as in the wet, so it's going to be drying out through the rest of the day. Let's see what we can do. Starting in the second heat, I'm going to be starting in third place. Going out, and again now I'm making sure to warm up the kart properly, and here we go, get a half decent start. I know the top 2 are probably going to be quite quick in this race, and I go for a bit of an audacious move and it just does not work at all, never really on, and unfortunately I lose out in that because now I've got the driver in 4th who's ahead of me. They make a mistake, but because they're ahead all I can do is just hit into the back of them. That was really annoying. But I know I'm quicker, so I dive up the inside. Very good overtake, very pleased with that. And I think now it's just going to be consolidating this third place, except I run slightly wide, and then I get smashed into the wall. I was not happy with that. The problem wasn't so much the initial contact, it was then me being squeezed into the wall. And then you see on lap 3, I had a bit of time, and they're actually giving him a black and white penalty. So I know, at the end of this race, I'm going to gain that position back. But I don't want to just finish behind and gain it post-race. I want to get the position, so I dive up into third place. Nice overtake, and then I'm side by side. It's greasy just right there as you come past the pits. It's very slippery, but I have the inside line, and I'm able to take that third place. So they're coming onto the final lap now. Nothing much happens, so able to just take that third place. Pair of third place finishes. Reasonable start to the day. I know it should have been better, but that's kind of where we're at the moment in terms of how much speed I have. Lining up for the third heat. Roll a bit too far forward, so get pushed back, that's all fair. and then get a reasonable start. And I see there's a nice gap on the inside, so I go for it, and it manages to work out quite nicely. So up into third place now, wanting to challenge for second place, and I get the cut back and get an amazing drive out, but I'm in a really unfortunate position. And the racing, he's just following the racing line, and I'm just being squeezed into the wall, kind of through no fault zone. I then look to get back third place, but that was never on, and I was very lucky not to spin the other driver out. Yeah, but now I've immediately dropped back a lot of time, and so it's going to be really hard to challenge. By lap 4, I've closed back in again, and you can see they're battling a lot. We're both quicker than this driver ahead, so I'm going to see if I can maybe take advantage of both of these. And in a really good position, but I worried he's going to dive up the inside, so I brake quite early. And if I'd have known he was going to do that, I would have gone up the inside. But yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't do anything about that. Get a reasonable drive through here. But then again, losing time through this downhill section. I did work out very late in the day what I was doing wrong. Unfortunately, not at this moment in time. Able to close back in at the first corner, and then I lift off through the chicane, because you couldn't quite go flat out. I lifted off way too much, because I was trying to get a good drive out, but I dropped back way too much. So I bet the top two, or this second and third place, could just go forward, and I dive up the inside right there. Fortunately, again, I'm not causing the driver to spin, otherwise I'd be definitely getting a penalty. So fourth place, that should have been second. Should have done better at the start on that first lap.
Did he get a black and white for pushing me in the wall?
You didn't. So you were nowhere near making that move stick. And that is an ever decreasing gap. Overtaking on the left up there, you've got to get it done so early, but your front bumper wasn't even level with his wheel almost.
Yeah, the second he started saying I wasn't in the right place, I realised that I was in the wrong actually. But here we go, starting in third place for this final heat. Let's see what result we can get. I get squeezed a bit at the start, but it's not too major. And then sticking to that third place, get a nice hit up the back. Not happy about that. And the top two have kind of gone a bit, but let's see what we can do. Coming on to lap 4, I've closed back in on this second place. I was definitely taking a bit of time in each race to get going. Just about going flat out through that chicane. It's definitely damp. And then I think about a late move up the inside. He defends it, but he defends way too late. And I'm able to get the position, but then side by side, bit of contact, coming through the corner. I know I have the inside, so I actually run a bit wide, and I get the position, because I know he's got nowhere to go at that point. And so yeah, that was a second place finish. Best finish of the day so far. And yeah, I was quite pleased with that. And there you can see the qualifying position. I'm down in 16th place. One of my worst qualifying positions in a while. Unfortunately, I wasn't good when it was damp, and as it dried up I did get better, but it wasn't enough. I should have just done better at the start of the day. And here we go, starting in the B final, starting down in 8th place. Top two are going to progress to the A final. I think it's going to be unrealistic to challenge for that, but let's just see what we can do. And here we go, lights out, and away we go. Get a good start, and immediately that driver ahead of me moves over, so I try and go around the outside, and then I do something quite foolish. I try and go around the outside of everyone, get pushed in the wall. I realise that's a mistake on my behalf, but fortunately I'm able to get one of those positions back and hang on and actually gain that one position I made right off the start. The driver up the inside really does not want to go for the overtake there. I was really annoyed that he didn't want to go through, and so I instead dive up the inside. Lot of contact between all of us. Fortunately, we all come out in one piece. Otherwise, that probably would have been my fault. But then, yeah, I'm looking to challenge for this driver ahead, and he just brakes really suddenly. I'm really not understanding what he's trying to do, and I make a bit of contact with him and force him wide. I don't get a penalty for that because I'm not sure what he was doing. But now I've got a driver right on my inside. I take normal racing line. He dives up the inside anyway. I give him a bit of a finger wag because that's not really sensible. Then coming through, I want to try and close on the pack ahead. Slam into the barrier and I spin round. That driver behind me unfortunately gets collected in that, is not happy, but I immediately just want to get going again. So it's head down, let's go. I know I can make these positions back. I know I should be quicker than these drivers. And coming through, I'm immediately closed on the tail of this driver. I think he's going to go up the inside. Actually, he doesn't. So I've wasted a good opportunity to overtake. And it means I've also dropped back a lot as well. You can see I've got a big gap that I need to try and close in. And let's just see what we can do. with these early laps in the race. Already coming up to halfway through the race though. These races are very short, so that mistake is going to hurt me a lot. And you see, I'm already looking at the inside, and down the inside I go. Nice clean overtake. That's exactly what I need to be doing. Let's see how much further we can get. Driver ahead, got a reasonable gap to them, but then already starting to close in. I've already overtaken this driver once in this race. Let's try and do it a bit more cleanly this time. Coming up through the chicane, get a good drive through there, and I'm already closing, and I'm already alongside actually, even before the braking zone, and then up the inside as well. Another good overtake. I was really pleased with that, that I'm able to just make those moves when I need to. And you can see the drivers ahead, they've got a bit of a gap to me, so I'm not going to be able to close. I'm going to see what I can do though, head down, as I know I've got some drivers chasing me as well. And it was just a bit annoying that I couldn't challenge for those top positions. You see, coming onto the final lap now. If I hadn't had that spin, I'd be battling for those top positions. Probably wouldn't have got through to the A final, but I would have had a good chance of finishing maybe 3rd or 4th in the race. Here we see, coming through the final corners now, and there's a yellow flag ahead because there's one driver spun, and then another driver makes contact. I go round the outside of one, round the outside of another, which comes the inside, and there's the checkered flag, 5th place. That was very lucky to gain those positions at the end, but I took the opportunity when I could. And there you go, that's the final finishing positions. I finished in 13th place overall. It should have been a lot better. I definitely should have made it through to the A final. If I'd have maybe got that 2nd place in one of the previous heats, then I would have qualified probably on the front row of the B final. I'm not going to be out at the next round, but I will be back in May, so I will hopefully see you all then. Thank you very much, and I'll see you around.